Hello and welcome everyone. As promised, I'm going to dive a little bit deeper in my thinking around the robotaxi launch and scaling over the next few months and what it might mean for the stock. And as you probably have seen on X, I posted something and I got some good feedback on it. I just want to go through that post very quickly to explain my thinking around the whole situation. So this is not for long-term holders. This is about tactical trading. And I mentioned before that besides the core position that I'm always holding on very tightly, you can take a little bit off the table if you're super exposed to Tesla if you think there's a sideways movement for a few months. It's risky, but not that much if you hold on to a big core position, in my opinion. So I was posting about the idea that I'm very bullish on a forcing function level on NVDA, because NVIDIA is just scaling the hell out of it. Everyone gets it. So they are nicely in that upwards trend. Now you never know what happens. But I think Tesla is waiting a little bit for the robotaxi scaling, and NVIDIA is in the middle of that forcing function. Of course, NVIDIA is by far not as strong of a forcing function as the Tesla forcing function will be, but we're in the middle of it and Tesla might need a while. So that was my thinking. But as I mentioned here, this is all assuming that we are on the upper end of the Tesla current trading range, which I think, on the upper end is roughly 360. We have seen that a few weeks ago that Tesla reached this 360 based on robotaxi fantasy. And I think we can easily get back there. Then we're on the upper range and then they have to deliver in terms of scaling, right? If they don't deliver, but we are not at the upper scale, we can still go up, in my opinion. So, or as Randy Kirk just made this big move, nothing against Randy. I think he's a great dude, but he got a little nervous. He's really into politics. He sold all his Tesla shares and said he's going to go back in a few days. He just wants to get over this Trump hump. And he made, in my opinion, a classic mistake selling into weakness when Tesla was at 300. You're not selling on weakness, you have to sell into strength. So now we are currently pretty much down here at 316 currently. And in my opinion, even tactically, we are totally undervalued. So I want to definitely not get out of any Tesla position right now. We also have, sales number came yesterday, so that's already out, but we are still waiting for the affordable models. And they were announced to come out in the first half of this year, and the first half just ended 3 days ago. So that means I think they are even more likely to come up very, very soon, which will be another catalyst. So the combination of being down here on the lower end of the trading range, in my opinion, plus more catalysts coming up short term, makes it not very attractive to get out of any position right now for me. And so what am I thinking here? I'm thinking the following. I have an additional thesis on robotaxi when we look at the next few weeks. Hey, creating these videos is a lot of work. Please like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. Now let's get back to the video. And this additional thesis is, when you look at potential trends here, here's the robotaxi simulator. When we look at potential trends, and these curves I'm looking at here, right? And these curves are all about how robotaxi is expected to scale, in my opinion, over the next few months. You see the expected, the fast scaling, and the slow scaling scenario. I already updated them a little bit. And you know that my conviction is that we have that catalyzing point at roughly 2,000 robotaxis deployed, where the forcing function kicks in, because we are hitting this 5% of free cash flow of all of Tesla threshold with the robotaxi revenue stream. If we hit that 5%, I think it's totally game over, and every Wall Street analyst has to jump all into the stock. And so that is roughly the equivalent of 1,800 to 2,000 robotaxis deployed. So right now we are at something here, right? I don't know how many right now, maybe 20, 30. And when do we hit 2,000? That is the big question. And I think everyone is going to watch this scaling of robotaxi happening. And here's my thesis. My thesis, I updated this model already, I'm playing around with it. My thesis is that when you think about it, put yourself into the shoes of Tesla, they're basically having to launch robotaxi. And robotaxi launch has certain restrictions or limitations to how many robotaxis you can actually deploy safely. Now, if you deploy 10, there is a certain implicit limit how many you can manage that you don't know as Tesla, because this is all new stuff. You don't know exactly what the number is. So 10 is for sure not the upper limit of what they can manage. 10 is a super conservative take on their current capacity to operationally manage the robotaxi network, which means the actual operational limit, upper limit, is way, way higher right now without them doing anything, because they need to be conservative, which means very likely Tesla is able to scale much faster than I anticipated or thought into that limit, whatever that limit is. So you understand there's a hypothetical current limit, and I just realized that they're of course coming in way below that limit because I don't know exactly what the limit is, but now they are figuring that out quickly, which means they can scale into that limit very, very quickly in weeks, a few weeks, in a couple of weeks, and then hit that limit and then need to grind through the actual issues that are coming up. And I think that limit, I don't know where the limit is. It's probably 100, maybe 200, something around there. So I think we reached that point way faster, but that means I'm very bullish, very tactical short term on the stock. I think we will see very good news on robotaxi very quickly. But then we hit that point where they actually have to remove certain operational hurdles, and no one knows how long that takes. In short, my theory here is the expected will actually exceed even the fast scaling original. We go to 100, 140, 180. But then we will hit the ceiling somewhere, and then there will be this jump once they overcome whatever challenges they face. And that means in the very short term, I'm very, very bullish on the stock. Of course, it's all a theory, but this is my current theory. I'm very bullish because the stock is too low, way below the trading upper range. I think we will probably go back to 360 very, very quickly, maybe 400. And then we will get stuck there for a while. I don't know what that while is. Is it 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months? Who knows? And that is when I would consider maybe shifting some into NVIDIA, or make sure I'm not, having too many opportunity costs. Of course, not 100% of Tesla position, but a tiny little sliver, the tactical piece. But I'm not there yet. So let's see. That is my theory for what's going to happen. And, we have to see once we get there. The message is basically right now, I'm not doing anything. I want to be all into Tesla. I think there's way more tactical short-term upside than anything else. If we hit the 360 to 400 range quickly, while not seeing a clear short-term path to 2,000 robotaxis, or let's say 1,000 to be conservative, then I would consider scaling back a little bit. So that's why it's so exciting to watch this. Hey, if you want to stay ahead of capital markets and the next Tesla moves, join us in Pioneerlands. Here we track Tesla, capital opportunities, AGI disruption, and politics. It's your critical information advantage in the age of AGI. It's free, and the link is in the description. Let's get back to the video. I'm working on another video showcasing why I believe there is a massive amount, a tsunami of institutional capital waiting to go into Tesla. Then I've said some very interesting things. So I'm going to cover that in a separate video. So stay tuned and watch that, because it informs us a little bit and trains us to make a very clear distinction. These are tactical considerations right now for the stock going to the upper trading range, basically on no real news needed. And then we can be tactically scaling back, because once it's hit the upper trading range, the odds are more likely than not that it goes down a little bit. So we should never confuse these two scenarios. Are we dealing with a tsunami enforcing function, or are we trading right now? And the difference is, once you're in the tsunami forcing function and this thing goes from 316 to 400, you don't want to sell, because then it goes to 500 and then it goes straight to 600. So it's very important to have a situational awareness. Are we dealing with a trading range, or are we dealing with a tsunami? Right now, I think trading range, not tsunami, but the tsunami is building up, and we need to be very, very vigilant to see in what situation we actually are. So stay tuned. Maybe you watch the other video too, where I'm talking about the institutional money theory, and hope to see you very soon.